Guys, when you think of America, I'm talking about the American government, yeah, or army, yeah. Do you think of like Captain America, Freedom, Rambo, fighting against the bad guys? If you do, when you think of America and you see the army, like in the because I make a difference between the American people in the government and the army and so forth. But if you think of America, you think of freedom and like Captain America, Rambo, and saving the world. I want you to watch this video. Have you ever heard the term economic hitman? Economic hitman. Well, we have one of them here. His name is John Perkins. What is that? Maybe you don't know. But America goes to different countries and they offer them different countries deals that they intentionally know will get them into debt and they won't become able to keep up with the debt. So then when they can't keep up with the debt, they ask them for natural resources instead and to use their countries to put their armies around for geographic strategic places for like world domination. Anyway, let me stop talking. I'll let you hear it from the horse's mouth. Just type John Perkins into YouTube, economic hitman, and he's got tons of videos. They've tried to kill this man a few times because he's exposing the truth. But what he does, he approaches leaders, tries to persuade them. If they don't agree with him or sign a deal, then someone comes in to assassinate the president, king, or ruler.
I also know some resisted, right? Some resisted all of this, the shiny object of America coming in. Tell me, in your experience, who was it that resisted? What was like that experience like?
Only two of the presidents I worked with resisted. And one was Jaime Roldos of Ecuador, and the other was Omar Torrijos, the head of state of Panama. And, Roldos came into power as a democratically elected president after a long line of military dictators who'd struck deals with U.S. oil companies and the U.S. government and taken out huge loans from the World Bank that the country's still suffering under, incidentally. I'm going to Ecuador in 2 weeks. So Roldos comes in under the promise that he's going to rein in the oil companies and he's going to insist that either they get the hell out of Ecuador or they pay a really fair price to the oil that they're exploiting, which they hadn't been doing. They'd gotten a hell of a good deal. And so he gets elected and begins to implement these policies, and I'm sent down to convince him otherwise. He will not be convinced. He has tremendous integrity. It was amazing to me. He wouldn't have any part of it. And later I came to know his daughter, Martha, who's still involved in politics in Ecuador. The other one was Omar Torrijos, head of state of Panama, and Omar was a bit of a different situation. The small country that happened to have a canal through it that the United States owned, and this canal zone, which was about 18, 20 miles wide, was a sore thumb in the country. Just people living incredibly wonderful lives in this canal zone, and right outside would be slums and really poor people. So Omar was determined to change that. He negotiated the Panama Canal Treaty with Jimmy Carter. He was in the process when I was sent down there to convince him to lay off. And he wouldn't be convinced either. He had also had tremendous integrity. And he was actually the person ultimately who helped me understand that what I was doing was not what I said I was doing, not what I told him. I said, you're lying to yourself and you're lying to the world with what you're doing. And he helped me understand that showing increases in GDP did not necessarily help the majority of the people.
So you painted this image a moment ago where I see you as Uncle Sam, and in one hand you have billions of dollars in cash, fiat currency, and right behind you is the gun, and those are the jackals. So in these two instances, when they rejected America, did the jackals step in, or did they step in earlier? How did those situations end?
Both of those men died in very suspicious private plane crashes within less than 3 months of each other. And most of Latin America and I have no doubt, or very little doubt, but those were both assassinations. It's never been proven. If you want to assassinate someone, a small plane crash is a good way to do it, because if there's a smoking gun, it goes down with the plane. So, but they both, it was heart wrenching for me. I wasn't surprised, frankly, but it was interesting that after Roldos's plane crash, Torrijos got his family together. And again, I know his daughter quite well. Now, he has a daughter who's a very successful lawyer in Washington, D.C. And he got his family together, and he said, my brother Jaime Roldos was assassinated, and I'll probably be next. But don't let it bother you. Don't let it bother you, because I've successfully negotiated the canal treaty with Carter. The canal's coming back to Panama. I've accomplished my task. And he was looked at around the...
Can you imagine? Can you imagine being a ruler of a country, yeah? Especially like a small country, yeah? That doesn't have a big army or big military, and then a superpower like America comes to you, and they try and say, oh, we want to help your country, by helping your infrastructure and help you get, like, build your country up, and you know it's a scam. You know that they want to help you, but put so much interest on their help that you're gonna be in debt, and you turn them away, yeah. And then they send this guy in, yeah, to say to you, come on, look, accept the deal. Like, if you don't accept the deal, you know, that there's gonna be a guy that comes to kill you. Can you imagine that? You look at the size of America's army, their navy, you know what I'm saying? Like, and then you know that your army can't fight their army. And your brother's been killed, or the president before has been killed by America. And it's like, for a fact, either I accept this deal and my country becomes poor, and my people become poor, and, and like, we're going to be slaves forever, or I say no and I get killed. Either I become a slave or I get killed. No wonder countries like Iran, all these countries like in the Middle East, want nuclear weapons, because every country that don't have nuclear weapons seems to get attacked. It must be daunting when a big country comes to America and they offer you a deal, and if you don't take it, you're gonna get killed. Especially if your brother has died, or the previous leader has died.
Both, it was heart wrenching for me. I wasn't surprised, frankly, but it was interesting that after Roldos's plane crash, Torrijos got his family together. And again, I know his daughter quite well. Now, he has a daughter who's a very successful lawyer in Washington, D.C. And he got his family together, and he said, my brother Jaime Roldos was assassinated, and I'll probably be next. But don't let it bother you. Don't let it bother you, because I've successfully negotiated the canal treaty with Carter. The canal's coming back to Panama. I've accomplished my task. And he was looked at around the world as a great hero, a David who stood up to Goliath. And so, one of the reasons he had to be taken out was that he'd become a hero. And that would encourage other presidents of other countries to do similar things. At least that was the theory. On the other hand, when you take these two presidents, when they have these mysterious accidents, it serves a notice to leaders around the world that, hey, you better play the game or something similar will happen to you. It has a very, very powerful effect, something like that.
Yeah, it's pretty scary. So the jackals are the CIA, and technology matters. One part of your book that really caught my attention because it's heavily in my world right now is the use of artificial intelligence and drones. It's like the evolution of.
Guys, when you think of America, not the people, there's a huge difference between the government and the armies, and the average people, the civilians. Maybe some of the army is ignorant because they believe in the stars and the stripes and fighting for freedom. Whenever I have the term like defense or secretary of defense, I think whenever I see movies or people saying thank you to our soldiers for defending our freedoms and our way of life, I think, what are you talking about? 90% of America's wars, are not defensive, they're offensive. It should be Secretary of Offense. Like most of America's wars, whether it's like most of the wars that America has had, it's either them overthrowing a leader in some small country or them attacking somewhere in the Middle East and stuff like this. You know, apart from 9/11, that wasn't done even by an Eastern army. It was done by terrorists from where's the Eastern army. It wasn't part of the government. In fact, Bin Laden was actually he was banished from Saudi Arabia because he wanted to kill them as well. But the point I'm trying to say is that America's war are offensive. They're not defensive wars, and most of them are not for freedom or for American values. They're to steal resources, you know. So, guys, when you think of America, don't think of Captain America, Rambo, and freedom, all this stuff, man. Think of economic hitmans and world domination. These guys, these presidents of these countries, they knew that's the term, dead man walking. That's what they were, dead men walking. Sad, man. It's very, very sad. The title of this video is called Confessions of an Economic Hitman. You can watch it on YouTube. Take care. On booking.